Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. My name is Felicia.
And I'm Tawny Ray.
And we are really excited that you're joining us for this episode. Today, we are talking about the movie The Descent. And I'm really excited to talk about this movie. But before we dive in, a couple of housekeeping items, really. The first one, the main one is spoiler alert. Now you're probably sick of us hearing, but just in case this is the first episode you're logging into or watching on YouTube, we we spoil the hell out of these movies because we want to talk about anything and everything that we want to talk about. So, and the second thing, Tawny Ray, what are you drinking?
I have a beautiful, gigantic goblet of white Riesling that Jade's parents got us for our anniversary, which was on Wednesday, so a few days ago.
That's right. Happy anniversary. I loved
Thank
those
you.
pictures you posted online. Absolutely loved it.
I know we look like children. It's so funny to look back. But yeah, I had to fill up so that I don't have to stop in the middle of the episode and go get another drink. That was my plan.
I love it. I did that. That goblet is significantly larger than your hand. Oh, your head. I am drinking an old fashioned, and I did something different today. The whiskey is Ritual. It's called Ritual, and it is a whiskey alternative. So it's a non-alcoholic whiskey, but then use the bitters and the simple syrup. And it's good. It definitely for anybody that's wanting to try, an alternative because you got shit to do. You have to work the next day, whatever it is. It doesn't, it tastes different than one made with whiskey for sure.
Okay.
I would prefer the one with whiskey, but it does taste, it tastes good. There's this one note or this one flavor in it that's kind of stronger than all the other flavors inside the whiskey. But I thought it was so fun. I actually ordered and their tequila, their non-alcoholic tequila for margaritas. And I ordered is it kin or kine?
I think it's kin.
I ordered that too. So I'm excited to try it all.
I'm really excited to try that. I'm going to order some of that too. Kin Euphorics is what it's called. And it's like, because I don't think Ritual is just like an alternative. Kin is like, they're calling them Euphorics, and it's like a mix of nootropics and what's the other one?
The adaptogens?
Adaptogens, yeah. So that it gives you an effect. It's probably not like alcohol necessarily, but you feel something happening other than nothing. And so I'm going to order some of that and try it too. So I'll be curious. You will probably get yours first. So tell me what you think about it when you try it. But that's good to know. I was wondering if that would taste like whiskey or not.
Yeah, no, when I tasted a little bit without mixing it, and there's this one flavor, and I'd have to look at all their flavors because they have vanilla and they have these different things which whiskey has, but this one flavor is strong, and it doesn't have a bite.
Okay.
So some of them will say, oh, it has a gentle burn. There is no burn at all because I've had whiskey on the rocks before. There's no burn, but it is really good, and in the rocks glass and everything, and it tastes good. I enjoy it. And yeah, adaptogens, I still have it, but when I was having a lot of anxiety with work, I used to take this, I think it's called Mucana. It's a mushroom powder with adaptogens. Oh my gosh. You just mix it with your tea. I would go into situations that were really, really high stress, high pressure, and feel totally chill. And I knew I didn't feel weird or exhausted, but I knew it was working because usually I would be like in an anxiety attack mode. So it was really cool. So I'm curious about that kin.
Yeah, I have been also taking, I don't think we've even talked about this and we're kind of off on a tangent here, but let's keep it going. Cause I've been taking ashwagandha because I experience anxiety. I know you do too, Felicia. But yeah, I've just been an anxious person my entire waking life. And I feel like I've just semi recently gotten just okay with the fact that oh, okay, this is anxiety. And it's just interesting looking back at my life and being like, oh, that's how that showed up at that time in my life. But now, I kind of meditate to help a little bit, but I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The idea of being on like medication is like a whole anxious thing in and of itself. So anyway, I started taking this ashwagandha just like once a day, and I do feel like overall my like anxiety level has been lowered, which is really neat. Like I didn't
Yeah.
think that it was going to be that much of an effect, but it's cool. So now I'm like on the train. I'm like, okay, nootropics and adaptogens seem like they really work and do stuff. So that's why I think my experience with that then has like primed me to try this like kin stuff. And I'm like, oh, I bet that's cool.
Awesome. 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 Yeah. I can't wait. I'll tell you.
Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. So we won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's talk about The Descent.
Hashtag not sponsored by any of these
Yeah.
things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, good point. Yeah. We're just freely advertising all of this stuff. Yeah.
Call,
We are not sponsored yet, but hey, we're open to it. Anyone out
call
there?
us.
Call us. Okay. That's gonna suck to edit out of the video. We were just talking about audio stuff. Sorry,
It's fine.
Tawny. Okay, so let's talk about The Descent. Let me give you a little synopsis. All right. And I got this off of Google. Literally just Googled, and it was there. So, a year after severe emotional trauma, Sarah goes to North Carolina, the Appalachian Mountains, to spend some time exploring caves with her friends. After descending underground, the women find strange cave paintings and evidence of an earlier expedition. Then they learn they are not alone. Underground predators inhabit the crevices, and they have a taste for human flesh. Awesome. The
Mm.
movie was made in 2005, so it was confusing because I would find 2005, 2006, is because it was released in the United Kingdom in 2005 and then in America in 2006.
Okay.
The writer director is Neil Marshall. He also directed Dog Soldiers, Doomsday, Centurion, Hellboy, and The Reckoning. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival as well. And like I said, United States in 2006. So that's why you might find two different dates on the movies if you're looking to rent it, because I know that confused me. And it did really well. It grossed 57.1 million against a, okay, so this kind of irritated me and I tried to figure out what the math was and I couldn't figure it out. It was confusing. But 57.1 million against 3.5 million pounds. And so, like I said, what is $57.1 million to pounds? And I couldn't, it was just confusing. So anyways, but it's pretty damn good. Like that's really good. And then they did release a sequel in 2009. Last thing, as far as like the little opener, the influences for Marshall, what his influences were for this movie is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Thing, and Deliverance.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I have not seen Deliverance, but I've heard a handful about it. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I guess I could kind of see how that.
Well, he this is kind of cool. He actually hesitated. He was hesitant about doing the film because he didn't want to be typecasted as a horror filmmaker. Because
Ah.
of the other movies he did were not horror, but he ended up doing it. Um, so yeah, he made some pretty cool decisions, I thought. I don't know if they're cool, but Neil Marshall. So one of the things he did was originally the screenplay was going to call for a mix of men and women. And he decided, no, all horror films do that. There's always a mix of men and women. I don't want to do that. And so he went against the plans and he made it an all female cast, an all woman cast. So I thought that that was pretty cool. And also to make sure that he didn't create the characters cliched, he got advice from his female friends. so that he could make sure that
Oh,
he had
cute.
an actual female voice there on how they should be. And also, and I don't know if I really agree with this, he gave them all different accents so that we can tell them apart, especially in the dark, which that's pretty cool. Um, and also, so it seemed more cosmopolitan. The only problem for me, I love accents. I love listening to accents. I just sometimes had a really hard time understanding everything that like that was going on and that was said, and I was really confused. Like, are they in Scotland, or I thought they were in the Appalachian Mountains? But I mean, it didn't ruin the movie for me. It just something I noticed.
Yeah. Um, I'm going way back, but I just want to mention that that guy doesn't want to be known as a horror director or whatever, but he did Hellboy, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people consider Hellboy horror. It's one of those movies that's like not I don't like people place it there even though I don't know that it was intended to be that way. I haven't really seen it. I've seen like
I've
I
seen it.
watched part of it a long time ago, so I don't remember. Would you consider it horror?
I really just saw it as like a superhero type movie.
Okay.
From what I remember, it's been a long time though.
Yeah. Same here. And I don't remember even if I watched the whole movie. But anyway, sorry, I just wanted to say that
No,
just to
that's
give
interesting.
give credit to the horror genre, I guess. But that's interesting about the accents and actually a very smart idea. I sometimes do have a hard time understanding accents, so I did also, even though I've watched this movie a couple times on the rewatch for this episode that we're recording, I did have to turn on subtitles a little bit sometimes to kind of understand what people were saying. And but it's a smart idea to try to like identify who's who in the dark. I did
Yeah.
not think of that.
Yeah, because like it did get really dark, and like there was moments that were so fast. It's just like there was so much going on. That's true. That's very,
Yeah.
very true. Something funny too, and then let's get into how we feel about the movie. Not funny, but interesting tidbit. The movie The Cave, which is a similar premise. I haven't seen it, but it's a similar premise. Was set to release um, before this movie, before The Descent. So Marshall sped up production so that they could release first.
Oh, I like that. Scrappy. He
Yes.
said, "You're not
All
going to beat
right.
me to market."
Oh, I should tell you who the people are. Sarah, who's the main character, Shauna McDonald. Juno was played by Natalie Mendoza. Beth, Alex Reed. Sam was Mayana Buring. And Rebecca was Saskia Mulder. And Holly was Maura Jane Noon, I think. But those were the main five ladies that went down into the caves.
Neat. What
What
did
did
you think?
you want
I
me to
want
go
to know
first?
because I've seen it. It was my pick. You go.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay. I loved it. So I really, really, really liked this movie and didn't think, not that I didn't think I was going to, but there's just so many movies out there that don't scare me that I didn't have high expectations. Like I thought it might be good, but I didn't think it was really going to scare me, especially beasts in the caves. I don't know. I just didn't think it would. But it scared me in a way that I've never been scared before. It
Oh,
was so this building anxiety, just like I literally felt this anxiety in my chest. First of all, going down, as soon as they dropped down into the cave, I'm like, what if something happens to their ropes? Like immediately,
yeah.
like my chest tightens. Then, I'm sorry, those holes, like, okay, it's not that it's unbelievable to me because I know there's people that like to do this stuff, but that person is definitely not me. I would never get into that freaking little hole and climb. Like, as they're going, I'm getting cold chills right now. As they're going into this hole, like, they're literally like stuffed in it. Um, I'm like, what if they have to go backwards? What if that? What if, like, I'm feeling panicky. So it's all of that, and then the freaking monsters come, and then it's just like it just. So I want to tell you this one thing because it perfectly explained. um it was the what the director explained. He said, okay. Um, oh, sorry, guys. It was so perfect. I should have made it bold. Okay, this is what he said. We really wanted to ramp up the tension slowly. Unlike all American horror films you see now, they take it up to 11 minutes in, 11 in the first few minutes, and then simply can't keep it up. We wanted to show all these terrible things in the cave: darkness, drowning, claustrophobia. And then, when it couldn't get any worse, we make it worse. That is exactly how I felt about this
That
movie.
gave me chills. That gave me chills. That is exactly what it feels like. That is a great, wow. What a fantastic result. To like
Yeah.
aim for that and have it come out that way. Listen, sometimes you try as hard as you can to make something be a certain way, and like at every step of the way something can work against you and not make it that. As far as video production goes, that's amazing. What a
Yeah,
great.
yeah, because he's saying this is exactly what we wanted. You exactly 100 billion% did exactly what you wanted. You
Yes,
succeeded in that.
totally. Okay, so while I was rewatching this movie, I was like, okay, didn't really mean to like pick the same exact movie almost in a way from As Above, So Below, but I definitely did it. And so obviously there's a theme here. And I think some
My
of my,
husband said, "What is up with your friend and these like tight spaces and caves?"
I would, I don't think all of my favorites are like this necessarily, but I think just it happened to be, but this is something that freaks me out. Just this concept of being lost freaks me out. Even just as a person driving around in suburbs, being lost gives me anxiety. And I'm
Oh,
not even saying that to be funny, like that is the truth.
the lost part. Yeah.
Yes, being lost and not knowing like how to get back to where I know really gives me anxiety and freaks me out. Long
Uh,
distance driving, not even. The drive when we moved from Colorado to Idaho just about killed me. I was like, I've never done that long of a drive. Like I've ridden in the car for like a long time when I was a kid. Anyway, I'm just saying, I think sometimes movies scare us that tie in with our deep-seated fears. And I now again rewatching this back to back with As Above, So Below, it is apparent that being lost and stuck somewhere is scary. I don't think I'm claustrophobic necessarily, but like watching people be stuck in those tiny little spaces, it's very affecting for me because it's scary and you know what it feels like. Like I just feel like everybody's had some sort of example in their own
yeah.
life where they felt stuck and just the anxiety like ratchets up. Here's the other thing. I think this movie does such a perfect illustration of panic. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I think, to be honest, I think this is another one of my really deep seated fears. I'm not really scared by much, but I am afraid of other people's panic. Like, when you see people like start like shoving each other because they're freaking out, and you know that like people have been trampled in like, herd type stuff where people are trying to like get out or in. And so like when coronavirus happened and people were like running to the store and buying up all the stuff, I was more afraid of people's panic than I was anything else. Because like,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I see that.
you know what I mean? It's like when we panic, it's just there's no logic. You can't get a hold of yourself. And so like one of the best scenes I think of this is like later in the movie when but it's like the first time they super encounter these like creatures, and someone goes like they have like I don't it's not a flare, or maybe it is a flare, but it's something, and someone goes, throw the flare, and she just throws it, like doesn't even think about it, just throws it because somebody said it. And Jade was like, why would you throw the flare? But I was like, you absolutely would do that in a moment of panic when everybody's screaming. And it's
Mhm.
just, and also like when we've talked about this before, I don't remember if it was on one of these podcast episodes, but it probably was. I am all flight. I'm gonna run. If I'm panicked, I'm gonna run. So like they show a scene even after that where everybody's just like separated and running from each other. Like that would be me, 100%. I know it's not like the
Yes.
smart thing to do, but I don't have control over myself. I'm just gonna like run and panic, and I'm gonna do whatever anything that anybody screams at me, I'm gonna do it. Like
Especially in that situation, like
yeah,
with those things. You said something though that I really liked about this movie. The reactions were real. I felt the reactions of the characters were very real. For example, when Juno killed Beth,
yeah.
um, my teens. Oh, side note, my teens. I told them I was tired of calling them my teens, but I wanted to respect their privacy, so I made them come up with aliases. And so they came up with Bunny and Bear. I'm like, really, you guys? Okay. And they're going to listen to this. So my daughter is Bear and her girlfriend's Bunny. Okay.
Okay. Bear and Bunny.
Bear and
I mean,
Bunny.
I was thinking more like human names, but okay,
Yeah,
we'll
no,
take it.
so was I. So was I. Francesca and Diego. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I came up with two Spanish names either, but I like those names. But anyway, um, yes. So when she killed her, and my teens were, oh my God, that bitch, she killed her. I was like, okay, all of us would have done that. She just was fighting these things that were trying to eat her and were taking her friend. And someone comes up behind her, and my husband goes, moral of the movie, don't sneak up on your friend when they're fighting a Wendigo. And I have more to tell you about that too. But
Oh, ho, ho. Oh, I'm excited about that. You don't know this, but one of the stories from Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark that scared me the most is I guess maybe I'm not saying it right. I always said like Wendigo.
maybe it's Wendigo.
Wendigo.
I've never heard anybody say it in real life. So
I've only read it. Yeah, like, and so
yeah,
anyway,
when
go ahead.
Wendigo. Maybe it is a Wendigo, actually. That makes more sense. I'm just gonna use that. I'm just gonna say that. And you guys can like let us know if we say it wrong.
Yeah,
But yeah, I really liked that about the movie.
I did too. And in that moment where she, oh God, that is a rough scene. And it sucks. Like, there's a lot of emotion as you're watching that scene. You're like, of course she did, because she's fighting off something. She's fighting for her life, and something comes up behind her. Of course, she's gonna like pick this woman right in the neck. And but then you're like, but I still I couldn't help myself not feel this way as a viewer. I hated her for that. I hated her
Mm-hmm.
for leaving her friend, which I think is the intention, right? Like you were supposed to be like, what a bitch. Like, how can you
Mm-hmm.
leave
Well,
your friend?
she is cheating with that
Yeah.
woman's husband. So she is a bastard. Sorry. I don't like cheaters, period. She's cheating. And when she said that comment, we all lost something in that crash. Oh, bitch.
Oh, I know.
Oh, you lost nothing. He was not yours to begin. Oh, look, I'm getting all pissed off. So, anyways, I don't like her at all. And obviously, we don't like her because she lied to everybody and got them in that position. She's super self centered and selfish. She's like, I wanted us to discover this cave. No, bitch, you wanted to discover it and you didn't want to do it alone. Then she killed that chick, which I was. So, first of all, for a tiny speck, I liked her for a speck because she just was beating the shit out of those things to save that one girl, to save the Scottish girl with a very thick accent. Was her name Holly?
Holly sounds right.
I think so too. Shoot. And she was fighting to get her
Yeah.
back. And I was like, that is badass. And then, and then she killed that woman. And I was like, okay, yeah, I get that. I get why she did that. But then, she was like, oh yeah, they took her. And yeah, she's a dog. I loved when Sarah, oh my gosh, I'm getting chills. I
Me
know we're
too. I know what
talking
you're
to
gonna
the
say.
movie all out of sequence, but yeah, when she had that pick, and then the necklace dropped out of her hand, and then she nailed her in the leg. That was awesome.
Yes. It was so good. I'm telling you, dude. This movie has everything that I love in a movie. It's like looking revenge, like tight spaces,
And I
trapped.
loved Sarah. I
Yeah.
loved that actress. I loved her character. And even at the end when she was all wild and bloody, I didn't think it was corny or anything. I was just like, you're fucking amazing. I loved her.
That's so funny because when I was rewatching, I'm watching the scene that she gets into the blood, right? And she fucking comes out of the blood like so silently because she's trying to survive, right? And then she crawls out of the blood and that thing like just walks over her. I was straight up like, I was like, shit, Felicia's gonna think this shit is cheesy. God damn it. I was like, she's not gonna like this movie. No, I thought you would like it overall, but that was a moment where I was like, oh no, Felicia's not gonna like this.
I loved that. I loved when she did that. I loved when that thing was on her head. I was like, oh my God. We were like, can you imagine if that thing was on your head? And she's just laying there. I thought all of it, yeah. I
God,
thought that,
she's a survivor. She's
dude,
like,
yeah.
she falls into the blood, and then I think this is the one thing that I'm like, I could see people having a problem with because it's like before that moment, it happens pretty instantly. It's like, oh, now she's a badass. Like I could see how some people would have issues with that, but I feel like we had enough of working up to that that the moment she falls into that blood pool, she's just like, I'm fucking over it. And I am going to
Yeah.
fight to survive. I'm going to do everything I possibly have to. And so I just bought it. I was like, yes, I'm here for this. And so she like comes out of it and she's all bloody. And then she looks scary as hell.
Oh, with those blue
Like,
eyes and just the blood. Like, dude, she's so cool.
and then she like pretty much just stops talking. She becomes animalistic from that point forward in a way.
Yeah, I saw it as totally, I didn't see her as all of a sudden becoming a badass. It was almost like it reminded me of Lord of the Flies, where those kids, because of the circumstances became, you've not seen it?
No.
Oh, you should see it. But became like animalistic, I guess would be a good word to describe it. Like she was, who wouldn't be going crazy? Like losing your mind, the terror, the absolute terror of being in this freaking cave, lost in this cave. You have no idea if you'll ever get out. I sat there and thought, wow, what would I do? Like, what on earth
Yeah.
would I do? Just absolute terror. And I think she did a great job at just seeming like she was like, I'm going to survive this. And I lost my mind a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And oh God, it's such a good movie. I'm glad you liked it. Because I was like,
I loved it.
oh,
So in the very beginning, when they were, sorry, I put a piece of ice in my mouth, when they were rafting, that's when my husband checked out. And not because women were rafting.
so early. It's the
I know.
first like 5 minutes.
He's like, why are they screaming like that? When this is like, he got all technical about those particular rapids and how you have to be a professional. And obviously they're professionals if they're doing it, but they're like, ah, ha, 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 ha. And I was like, okay, I didn't really, I was like, wouldn't you be like, woo, like when you're on a roller coaster? And then my girls said the same thing. They were like, when they were all inside of the cabin, they made a comment, my girls did, that they all seemed just like a bunch of silly sorority girls. Not that sorority girls are silly, and I founded a sorority, so I'm not saying that sorority girls, but how sorority girls are depicted in some movies as just being silly sorority girls. And then all of a sudden they're like, like avid, strapping up and doing the mountain climbing. And then they're like, oh, how long is the walk? I didn't notice that, but all three of them mentioned that. And so I thought I'd throw that out there.
Interesting. I didn't. What something that I think I appreciate about this movie is, listen, some of the acting I feel like is a little shaky, especially in the first like part before we get into the caves. Kind of like once we're down there and everything's scary, I just, oh, I'm in. I like totally sold.
They're all
There
good.
was Yes. There was a couple moments in the beginning, like the first few scenes that happened that were like, I don't know. But I do appreciate that it seems like they tried to make these women out to be like real, just normal ass women. Like,
Yeah.
and they enjoy going, whitewater rafting and they enjoy doing like sports. But like when that girl comes out and she's got like the matching pajamas set and they like make fun of her a bunch and like it just felt very like, oh, this is just like a group of normal everyday women in a way, so you really connect with them, I feel like, as a viewer. But Jade
Mhm.
said the same thing in the first few like minutes. It's not that he checked out because Jade had seen the movie and he like loves this movie also, but he was like, I don't remember this. Like, because you just everything that you remember about this movie is when they get down in the caves.
Yeah.
Like that's the gold. The stuff before is good and it sets you up to kind of know like the dynamics and stuff, but oh, the stuff that happens later is so good. And I
So
also
good.
love, on that same note, I love how complex the characters are. Because earlier you were like, oh, I hate her, Juno, but she has redeeming qualities. Like
Mhm.
she's not just like a super terrible person. She refused to leave those caves without Sarah.
Yeah.
Like that was real. She was like not putting on a
I bet
face.
she was
So
regretting that shit.
whew, yes. Maybe you should have left, okay? But like that, and when she's like trying to exactly to your point, like fight off the monsters off of Holly, you see redeeming qualities. So I feel like the characters are so like just believable and gray. They're not like, super what's the word? I don't know, but she's not like super vilified in the way that she's like, oh yeah, of course she's just the worst ever and I of course want to see her die. Like you're like, okay, yeah, she's pretty terrible, but she's a human being, just like all
Yeah.
of the other women.
Yeah. What I liked but bothered me about the beginning, but bothered me in a good way. The beginning is actually, well, obviously where your anxiety starts, right? When she loses her, well, no, before she lost her husband and her daughter, the fact that you can tell that little glimpse that those two are cheating. So
Yes.
that's when it
Subtle.
starts. Yeah. To be just, it was just a look. And that's when you start to be like, oh, like getting that uneasy feeling. And then the way that he dies with those spears. So I'm wondering why a minivan had a bunch of long wooden spears on the top of it. But I mean, it didn't. It was
Good point.
like a really good scene. I'm just saying, what was that minivan doing with all those spears? But yeah, when they hit the car and the spears went through his head, and you don't know if the daughter's dead, so that's depressing. And it really bothered me because I think I was just really resonating with that main character and thinking this trip sucks. Like if I was her, I would not want to be. I would the chattiness of all the women wasn't anything about women being chatty. I was thinking of it as how deeply depressed she is, how she's struggling, and all these women are just like, oh my god, blah 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 blah. And it came across to me that way because I was thinking this is the most miserable vacation because of the pain she's going through. Like this is the last
Yeah.
place I'd want to be with all of these women da, 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 in my head. Oh, how about when she woke up in the middle of the night and was looking at the window?
Oh my god. This
Oh,
movie, listen, I do not jump. I'm not jump scares don't get me. They get Jade constantly and I laugh every fucking time because it scares the shit out of him and he jumps. But for some reason, like I don't know, it's like weird. It's like my nervous system isn't always poised. So like things they'll scare me when they're supposed to, but I don't physically jump a lot. I do it every once in a while, but this movie got me like I've seen it before. I've even watched the movie before and I kind of know like what is supposed to happen and it got me a few times. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh, that is
I
such a good jump scare."
That was a really great jump scare. Oh my gosh. I am going to tell you just a little bit about, so when they filmed the exterior in Scotland. But the director, he did feel that it was too dangerous and time consuming to actually go into caves. So all interior scenes were filmed on sets built in Pinewood Studios near London, and they were designed by Simon bowls, and he got a lot of accolades for those sets. There was 21 cave sets, and he used this very specific, I think it was his own design, polyurethane sprayed rocks, and so all of those were done on sets, all of those scenes.
Wow, interesting. It looks very realistic, I feel like.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
obviously, I'm not somebody who's about to go and get in a cave, but
No,
I feel
it
like
totally looks realistic. I said to the kids, I was like, I wouldn't even be in this movie. If to be in the movie, I had to crawl, now knowing it's a set, maybe I'd be okay, but crawl through that tiny space, I couldn't even, I couldn't. Like when she was having a panic attack in that space, well, first of all, when they started crawling into that space, like they barely fit. Oh my God, this, oh, the anxiety just, well, the anxiety of just, like I said, dropping into the cave. What if something happened to your ropes? It just kept going. It just kept building. It was such a good description that I shared, because it really just kept getting worse and worse and worse in a
I
good
told
way.
Jade, yeah, oh yeah, the best way.
Yeah,
The
in the
best way.
best way.
I told Jade, I was like, I have never in my life watched a movie where just people throwing around metal objects gives me such anxiety. But
Yes.
like when they're like running, I mean, it's again, there's like this nice subtlety to this movie. Obviously, it gets crazy, and there's like, you know, this underground creatures that are like trying to eat them. But like when they're like running the metal stuff across the lines, like, oh, that gave me anxiety, man.
Oh,
And when she like picks up there was like one scene too where she picks up the axe and like sticks it in like some sort of holster or something.
yep.
Ching. And I just every time something like that happened, I was like,
Yeah.
oh god, like
I
what
did
is gonna
want to say
happen?
one thing, that these ladies, it actually was fine, but in the very beginning, when Sarah, and I love her, she's my favorite character, but still, there are like red bloody finger marks. The very beginning, as soon as they drop down, right there, and she just goes and puts her fingers in them and went, ew, and walked away. Okay, hey
That
Tawny,
was weird.
look at this shit. You know what I mean? Like, let's tell people about it. Let's like share this information.
Hey, just everybody come here. Just real quick. I just need you to look at this.
Yeah,
Look at it.
yeah. This looks like bloody fingerprints. But that was the only piece that I was like, come on, why isn't she saying anything to anybody? Because I just think that a human being would be like, even if you just wanted to scare somebody, even if you didn't think it was real, like, whoa, guys, look at this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
totally.
Another thing he did was, and I think they did this as well. No, I know they did, because you shared it in As Above, So Below. They really wanted to get that dark cave, that scary cave. So they restricted all lighting to the light sources. So the fire or the lights on the helmets.
Bro, the lighting in this movie is so phenomenally good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't think I had ever stopped to really appreciate how good it was until this rewatch. But you like, and also something that I'm passionate about is like, you can't see too much of the monster. You can't see too much of it or else it loses its luster. And they kind of, I feel like they danced on that a little bit. Like maybe we saw just a touch too much on the close up of the face, maybe at one point.
Ugh, they're
But
so
aside
gross.
from that, they showed the outline of the monsters a lot of the time, or like in passing light when they were like, throwing
Or
the
with that
torch around.
camera, the
Yes,
yeah, the night
the
vision on.
infrared
Yep.
camera. It's so quick and it's so like masterfully done that you just catch like glimpses here and there enough to know what you're dealing with, but not so much so that it becomes not scary anymore. And I was
Yeah.
just like, man, the
Yeah.
lighting in this movie. And they've got, it's primarily like red and green from the flares, fire, and the
Blood in some
I don't
scenes.
what's that thing? I guess it's like a light, like a giant glow stick or something,
Oh,
but
the
that's
glow
the green.
sticks. Yeah, the giant glow
The
stick. Yeah.
infrared.
Hmm.
Yeah, anyway, I felt the need to really
No, I'm so glad you
say
did
that.
that, because the very first, when she saw the, oh God, I love that. I actually paused it and rewatched it and told everybody this was just a phenomenal shot, where she's looking down into the darkness, and then there's just the guy, and then he pops back.
Yeah.
like the thing, and he looks and he pops back. Oh, I love shit like that. That was great. Or when they were walking by and it looks like you're looking at them through a tunnel, and then this portion, the top portion of the tunnel, is the beast. Remember? And he spit out all that
Yes.
shit. Yeah.
Or he's like up on top, like,
Oh,
you know.
right
Uh,
above them as they walk by. So good. Oh, and one, just so you know, one other scene that I would like, all of us were like, that is a beautiful shot, is when she is from the side scaling all the bones up to the light. Wow.
yep. 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 Yep.
Great shot.
From the moment I watched this movie, that shot has stuck with me. I think I watched this movie for the first time. When did you say it came out? 2006.
2006. Yeah.
Okay, so I was probably 15, 16 when I saw it. And it was like such an experience that I like remember where I watched it. Like I remember like I watched it with my friend Cassie at her dad's house. Like we watched it together. And it was one of those that I was just like, oh, whatever. We're just gonna put on a horror movie and it's gonna be like whatever. But we were like blown away by how good this movie was. And that shot from that time that I saw it, 10 plus years ago, has stuck with me. And it was
Yeah.
just as good to watch it again. I mean, it's just so simple and like affecting. Yeah,
Oh, I
so
love
good.
it. Oh, this is something interesting. So I have some interesting stuff. I think I'll save that, and let's talk about the creatures really quick. So something really cool about the creatures, the director would not allow any of the women to see the creatures until they first appear in the movie, because they
That
wanted.
is brilliant.
Yes, it was so good. He said that the designs were hidden from all the actresses until they were revealed in the scenes. That when the characters actually encountered them, to allow for natural tension. And Natalie Mendoza, who plays Juno, said, when the moment came, I nearly wet my pants. I was running around afterwards laughing hysterically, trying to hide the fact that I was really freaked out. And after that scene, none of us felt comfortable with them.
Wow,
And for
that's cool.
everyone, so these creatures, kind of how the director explains the idea of these creatures is that they've evolved in this environment over thousands of years. They've adapted perfectly to thrive in the cave. They've lost their eyesight, they have acute hearing and smell, and they function perfectly in pitch black. They're expert climbers, so they can go up any rock face, and that is in their world. He also wanted it to be more believable, so he made them a colony. You see the woman in there. I guess he said there's a kid in there. I don't remember when the kid was there, but
It's
go ahead.
it's like right before she comes. It's like she's fighting. It
Oh,
the only indicator is like sound. Like the child one has like a higher pitched voice kind of.
oh, okay. I know what you're talking about then. Okay. So yeah, he thought that if they were like a colony with women and children, because if they were all males, it would it make sense. He didn't want them. He wanted them to be more believable than just monsters. So that's why he did that. And originally, he made them have pure white skin, but in order to let them to make them so they can blend into the shadows, they adjusted that so that they're that more grimy color.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
So the Wendigo. I'm going to say Wendigo. I think you're right. So when the Wendigo, okay, I keep saying that, but when I read everything, Bunny, who's one of my teens,
Okay,
they're
which one's which?
they're going to have to pick different names, but for the
They
sake
are.
of today, I'm going to use them. Bear is my daughter, Bunny is her girlfriend, and
Girlfriend. Okay, cool.
they'll have different names next time, because but anyways, she actually said, oh my gosh, those are Wendigos. And I was like, what? And she knew all about them because I guess they were in this video game. So when I was researching this movie, No one ever talks about it. They were talking about, we want this creature that's like this. We developed this creature, um, you know, like the description I just told you, right? But
They're
when she,
actually called crawlers
yes,
in the what am I trying to say? The credits, because Jade was like, just randomly, he was like, "What would you name these things if you had to give them a name?" I was like, "Aside from like monsters, like I don't know." And then we were watching the credits, and it says crawlers. I was like,
yes.
"Crawlers, I guess."
Thank you for bringing that up. They are called crawlers. Yes, yes, yes. They're called crawlers. Um, but when she said that about the Wendigo, and she was adamant about it, I researched Wendigos. They're a mythological creature, evil spirit from the folklore of the First Nations Algonquin tribes based in the northern forests of Nova Scotia and Canada and other areas, and in the United States. The Wendigo is described as a monster with some characteristics of human, or as a spirit who has possessed a human being and made them become monstrous. Its influence is said to invoke acts of murder, insatiable greed, cannibalism, and the cultural taboos against such behaviors. And the cannibalism, it actually is where the medical term Wendigo psychosis comes from, that we use this medical term, psychiatrists do, with intense cravings of human flesh and fear of becoming a cannibal. So in some indigenous communities, environmental destruction and insatiable greed are seen as manifestations of the Wendigo psychosis. So the actual thing of these Wendigos are like emaciated. Their skin is pulled over their bones. They're ashy gray color. Their eyes are pushed deep into their sockets. They are cannibals. They are just like always eating. They can't be uh,
Satiated.
satiated. Yes, they just have to keep eating and keep going. And in one folklore, they actually get larger when they eat human flesh, and so that's why they just eat and eat, and they're the embodiment of gluttony, greed, and excess. That sounds like that thing. So
Wow, yeah.
that sounds
How
like the thing in the movie. But
how
everything I
insightful.
read, nobody said I got my inspiration from, these monsters from the Wendigos. No one says that, when it sounds like the exact description of these beasts.
Interesting. Yeah, I could see how though like they would just be parallel things that ended up being similar. Like I could see how you as a person you're like, "Oh, okay, there's this old civilization that essentially gets trapped down here and evolves over several years to not use their eyes, just like deep sea fish creatures, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like and again, they're kind of like ashy or like clear almost, like some of the like deep sea fish. So like you're like, okay, I can buy
Well, a
into this.
human would be if they had no sunlight.
Right. And then they're like just eating whatever comes their way. Like, they see the deer on their way in or whatever that is, like eaten. They're like, what would do that? And it's like these things like hunting. I mean, I don't know if it was them in the movie canon necessarily because it seems like they bring their prey back to the cave.
Mm.
But I could see how those things look similar and maybe they weren't like influenced by the Wendigo, but it looks the same. That's very insightful, and actually I didn't know all that about them. Like all I know about it is the one story in Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which is like very specific, and it's like this thing is like a flying creature that it only for some reason in my head I associate it with cold, like the snow, because this thing comes and gets you in your tent and flies you over the like snow and drags you until your feet fucking burn off. Like what a terrifying thing to read as a child. And
Girl,
so that's all I know.
yes. I don't think I saved it, but one of the things they said is the Wendigo comes by the cold wind. That I read something about that. They are associated with cold and wind. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they're lying. I just thought I mean, it crossed my mind because I just thought it was crazy because they were so the same. But yeah, really, really interesting.
It's like the underground Wendigo.
Yeah, I liked the monsters, and I agree with you. Typically, when I see a monster, once I see it, it could very much ruin it for me. But these ones, I liked them. I thought we saw just enough. I get what you're saying, like maybe a little too much, but then they were so gross.
They
And
were well done, dude.
yeah,
They
they
were
looked
well done.
real. They looked real. Like they got really close into its eyes, and it didn't look hokey. It was creepy and gross.
Yeah. Did you read anything about the sequel?
Okay, no, but we had a long conversation about it because I saw there was a sequel. And I said the fact there's a sequel ruins it for me because never, 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 never. I don't care who you are. I call massive bullshit. If you experience that, you would never go down there again. If you fought that hard to get out, I personally don't ever want to go down there again. I feel like I went down there. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't even want to watch it again because I don't want to get stuck down there again. And this really obvious, I way overthunk this because I thought about it all night. I thought about it this morning. Then during lunch, I went out there and I was talking to my kids, and I'm like, okay, so I'm trying to think about the sequel. Maybe they say, if somebody said to me, I'm going to, I get that people didn't believe her. Who would? Like, you would think that, I don't, something happened, but she lost her damn mind. There's not monsters living in the caves. So I could get other people wanting to go investigate and go find the bodies of these missing people. Totally get it. But what did they threaten her with, life in prison or life in a mental institution if she didn't go with them? I don't know, because those are the only things I could think that maybe, but not even. I'd rather be in prison forever.
I mean, I'll tell you because I've seen it and it is not good.
Oh,
And
okay. I should have shut
and
up and
maybe
like
maybe at some point we should watch it just for the like sake of watching it to see how bad it is, but I remember it being fucking awful. And it is almost like we restart. That is the plot. It's like they find her, she gets medical treatment for like a night, and then like I
yeah,
could be
she's
butchering
bruised
this.
still.
She's obviously fucked up. Okay. But it's like the next day, and the sheriff is like, oh my God, you were with other people or something. Like they know that there's other people, and they're like, we need to go back in those caves and save them. And from what I remember, she just she starts over as a character. It's like she is back in the place at the beginning of the second movie where she's like very quiet, she won't talk, and they just essentially force her back into the caves where she like cuz they're like, "Oh, we got to go find these people." And then I don't even remember what happens, but I think it's like the same thing over again. Like because they kind of like make it out to be like, "Oh, she's traumatized from the whole situation," which obviously you would be. That's
For
an
sure.
awful traumatic situation. But it's like it's just weird. It was bad. And I remember like the acting being bad. They really butchered the monsters and they showed them so much and they're bad. They're way worse. They look different. Like it's terrible. Like I remember it being bad.
Okay.
Again, we should maybe watch it at some point just
Ooh.
for maybe we should do like an episode of like really terrible ones and
Maybe
just
like,
watching them.
yeah, maybe like one a quarter, or or one, if we did one a month, maybe we do a few like in the same episode and we just butcher it.
Yeah.
I'm totally open to that because sometimes it's fun to butcher. But yeah, I thought so. Like you couldn't make me unless you literally drugged me and carried me into there and I woke up into there. But I would probably kill everybody to not go in there. I mean, obviously I don't know how I would respond, but so intensely traumatic and absolutely terrific. I can't even ever imagine this going back.
And I just fucking hate when anything undoes a bunch of shit that they just did. Like, you know what I mean? Like the first movie, like we're there for this ginormous transformation with Sarah. She goes from being like, understandably upset and traumatized by the loss of her family, and she's timid and whatever, and she goes into these caves, comes out taking responsibility for her own survival at like the most primal sense, and then she comes out and is exactly where she started. Like I remember getting to the end on this rewatch and being like, boy, that sequel was such a joke.
Yeah. No, that's it. I'm willing to, but I need a break because I didn't even want to go in those caves again. We did watch the trailer, and I was thinking, this body that he's swinging across, is that the body of the chick that was in the first movie, or is that just they're recreating the scene? Like, it just seemed like a lot of the same scenes with different people.
Yeah.
I mean, which
I
it would
mean,
be. You're in the caves. There's monsters. Like,
I didn't watch the trailer, so I don't know what it was
mm,
supposed to be. It could be any. I mean, it just seemed
yeah,
like it's weird because it almost seems like I think they did the first one on a pretty small budget, and then it almost seems like they probably got more of a budget for the second one based on how well the first one did. And the second one is cheaper looking. Like it's like
yeah. Oh,
I don't know how that works out, but
so this is my favorite part because I had the most questions. Um, did you know that there were two endings for this movie? Okay, so let's get into this. So there's two endings. The first one is the US one, which probably all of you have seen, where Sarah, and by the way, I loved how she was birthed from the mountain. Oh, and then her panic, and she's freaking out. And I was totally shutting people down because she was running and she jumps in the car and she's driving super fast. And my husband's like, slow down. And everyone's like, yeah, slow down. And you're going to die. And I'm like, you guys, like, she wants to get as far away from possible. Yeah, but they're in the cave and they come out. They get the animals
yes,
and they drag them back. And they're like, oh, yeah, that's true. And I'm like, she wants to get away from this place. I totally get it. So then she
not
pulls
only
out,
physical, like but mentally. Like she just
yes,
went through an insanely traumatic experience.
horrific. Yes. So then she drives, she parks the car on the side of the road and she's sobbing hysterically. It's all awesome. Beautiful acting. I absolutely love this girl, this woman. Shauna McDonald. And she's sitting in there and she's crying. And then all of this sudden she pukes. And for a second there, when she threw up, we thought she was turning into one of those things. Because I guess Wendigos, I guess if they bite you, you can become one. So since we were so convinced that that's what these creatures were, I was actually waiting for the other characters to come alive and be those
Oh.
beasts. I'm glad they didn't because that could have been hokey. But so when she threw up, I was like, oh no, is she becoming one of those things or she's throwing up? I would probably throw up too. Like, how traumatic. And then she looks and Juno's there and boom, movie over. Okay, so that's the US ending. The UK ending is the exact same minus 1 minute. The end of the ending was clipped by 1 minute. So all that stuff I said happens, but then when she sorry. So so all of that happens. I'm sorry guys. Let me regroup. All of that
You're good.
happens.
Also, maybe watch your elbows because as you clapped, I heard
Oh,
your sound happen with your mic.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
So all of that happens. She sees Juno. Then Sarah wakes up in the cave. She then sees a vision of Jessica's birthday cake and Jessica sitting across from her. Jessica's her daughter, correct? Yes, Jessica's her daughter.
Yeah,
Because she sees that birthday cake, which I thought was a beautiful. I liked how she kept seeing her daughter with the birthday cake. I love, love, love that. But Jessica birthday cake sitting across from her. The cake's fire is shown to actually be her torch. The camera slowly backs out as the crawlers are heard closing in on Sarah, revealing that she dreamt of her escape and that she is still trapped in the cave. So like when she ran and hit her head, and she's still trapped in the cave. They trimmed it because American viewers did not like its uber hopeless finale. The director was okay with making that change, though, because he feels that just because she does get away in the American version, it doesn't make it a happy ending.
right.
So he was totally fine with that. And Liongate marketing chief Tim Palin said, "It's a visceral ride, and by the time you get to the ending, you're drained," which is another perfect example. I'm going to be honest. I didn't, not that I didn't like it. When she saw Juno, I was like, well, what's that? What does that mean? Like, she sees her there. Maybe Juno's going to haunt her too, because, or like that would be haunting. Because even though she left her there to die, she's a nice, I mean, Sarah's a nice woman. I mean, even if she was mad at her, she still left a person there to die. I was like
Right.
reading into it, like, what did this mean? So that portion of it I didn't really like, but I would have hated, not that I would have hated the movie, but I would have hated it if she was in the cave. I was ready to get out with her. I was
Yeah.
so ready. If she was in the cave again, I would have, that would have been just a shitty feeling at the end, in my opinion.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying. And actually, as you said that, I was going to say, literally before 2 seconds ago, I was gonna say, I prefer the other ending, but that's not entirely true because I also feel a need to get out of that cave, and the fact that she fights her way the fuck out of that cave by ice picking her friend in the kneecap and, like, crawls her way out of there, again, like you said, rebirth out of the earth. I loved that.
When she took that
But
breath
then
of out of the cave, oh my God, you could feel it.
and she's just screaming, like, she's just like, "Ah, ah," like, just getting out of there. Like, I think what I love so much about the ending actually is the fact that there's 2, and that I
Mhm.
watched the first one, and that then I learned there was a second one, and I watched the second one, and just knowing that there was, like, a sort of an ambiguous end that was intended, I think is the thing that I like the most. Maybe not so much the second ending alone, but it's both.
How did you watch it? Like, because we saw the extended version, but it wasn't available for us to like rent or anything.
I think I just saw it on YouTube. I think I
Mm.
watched the American version with the same ending that you and I watched, and then later when I was looking up the movie, again, this is like, probably 10 plus years ago when I watched it the first time, I think I looked it up and I found the second one on YouTube. And I was
Ah,
like, and I tend to kind of like some of those, like, hopeless, open-ended endings. Like, I don't know, I just tend to gravitate towards those, so when I saw the second one, I was like, "Oh, shit, like, maybe she just died down there." And that's, like,
yeah.
ultra terrifying, but I agree with you in the way that, like, on my first viewing, it was so satisfying to watch her get out, but it's still not happy. She still did have to kill somebody to get out of there.
All
Like,
her friends are dead. Her daughter's dead. Her husband's dead and a cheating
she's
bastard.
alone.
She's absolutely alone. And the whole fact of that exists. We talked about this on another episode. To know for a fact that something like that exists and is crawling around in these caves, what else exists? Like, just, she's never going to sleep well again for the rest of her life.
Yeah. If she wasn't traumatized before, now she for sure is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah, not a happy ending.
I can see what you're saying, though. I want to see the other ending. It's almost like how, they say that in real life, there's like these parallel universes going on, right? Like
Yeah.
we're going in this direction, but there's another, I can't explain this very well, but it's intriguing to me. But there's also another like universe or I am totally forgetting the names, but it's like kind of side by side happening different things. So that's kind of like if she did get out, if she didn't get out. So I do like that idea that there is two endings. That's
We
cool.
get both. Like, we get the
Yeah.
best of both worlds, right? Like, we get
Yeah.
the ambiguous own or I guess ambiguous is not the right word because one is hopeless. Oh no, she died. Like, she dead.
Yes.
I mean, you don't see her die, but you're like, she's probably dead. Or the other one where she escapes, but she doesn't really escape what she had to do to survive,
Yeah.
which it's a whole thing in and of itself. Yeah. I
I
love
think
this
seeing
movie.
it the first time, I definitely would have I needed that escape ending. Because
You need
I
some
was
hope.
so ready to get out of there. Please get out. Like even when people they were running and they were like ditching each other, I get it. I was like, get out, get out. Like when the doctor, her sister, and her older sister, I was like, just go, just go. And my husband's like, wow, you're nice. You just leave your friends down there. And I'd be like, I go, they didn't know her really that well,
No.
I don't think. If my kids were down there, okay. My husband, I'm just joking, but I
Yeah.
don't, e,
No, really though. It is like, do I know anybody well enough to like
yeah,
not run away?
and would you even think like I'm leaving someone? Would that even be in your mind?
All jokes aside, exactly. You would be panicked. You're just panicked. The
You're just
the
like, I
number
hope
one
you're
goal.
behind me.
I'm running. Why wouldn't you be running also right behind me?
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. Overall, just what a really cool movie. The only other factoid I have is that this film was set to release right when, and it did release right when the London bombings happened in July 2005. So all the advertisements in the public transport system in London had like outright terror. So use the word terror, bold and brilliant, and these terrified women trapped in tunnels. So they changed all of that and changed the covers to be the women, just like kind of focusing on the women banding together. So that's why you might see a lot of different movie covers for this, because they pivoted and switched out their marketing, and they removed terror also from all of the advertisements.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, no way there's that much to research for this movie, but I know Felicia had messaged me beforehand. She was like, I have so many notes. Like, and I was like, no way. I knew there was a second ending. That's all I knew. I was like,
I'm so
that's got to be
excited.
it.
So I thought you didn't like this movie because for the audience, when I slacked her and I was like, "Oh, I have so much research," her response was, "LOL, I'm surprised." And I was like, "Oh." So my response of "Oh no" was like, "Oh no, she hated it." Like I thought
Oh
you were
no.
saying, "Oh, I'm surprised because it kind of sucked."
No, I just thought there wasn't going to be that much to talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
you take a movie like Poltergeist, and like we talked about last time, there's so much lore that it almost becomes it. The lore itself transcends the movie and becomes like a bigger thing about it. I just didn't think that would be the case for this movie, so I just was like, oh, I'm surprised. Like I don't know. When I think about this movie, I could be wrong about this, but I thought it was like a low budget. I think it's a Canadian
It's
movie,
British.
isn't it?
It's British.
Oh, British.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was in the United Kingdom. Yeah, and it was only 3.5 million pounds, but it
Okay.
grossed
Not that that
close to $60 million.
mm,
Like they
good
killed it
return.
with this movie. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Not that like but I feel like I've seen a post before of like people rounding up like Canadian made horror movies and I'm like, God, I like all those. Like I don't know what it is about like what Canadian made horror movies are doing, but I'm always like, I'm in for it. So I thought this was one of those, but
So then you probably want to
yeah.
watch that Black Christmas movie.
Yeah,
That's
I do.
Canadian. That's a
But
Canadian.
you know, the thing is I'm like, I want to wait until Christmas. Like I'm like afraid to do it too fast.
Oh, yeah, let's do it at Christmas time.
Yeah, it'd be perfect for that.
Oh, we should do Christmas ones the entire month of December.
We should. That'd be fun.
Holiday themed horror.
Have you seen oh god, I'm blanking on the name. Uh Krampus. 20
No,
2016, I believe. Krampus.
I have not seen Krampus.
Okay, we're putting that on the list
Put it
for
on the list.
December.
Put it on the list. Okay. Oh, I'm excited. Which leads me to, which we did not pre-talk about like we said we were going to. What do we watch next? So let's
Shit.
where I know, right? Where are we at? Okay, so just as a recap, we're gonna do one time a movie Tawny has seen, I haven't. We're gonna do a movie I have seen, Tawny hasn't. We're gonna do a movie that we neither of us have seen. And then the fourth one, I'm totally making this last one up, but I think it'll work. We're going
On the
to
fly.
we're going to switch it up, and we're going to do either a terrible movie, doesn't matter who's seen it, we just know it's terrible, or a movie we both have seen, because there's movies we both have seen that I would love to rewatch and talk about, you know.
Yeah.
So I think with the way we have it, one of us is always experiencing a new movie, which is really cool, right? Because we tend to always gravitate to the movies we know because we know if we like them or not. And then having that one little space where we mix it up, and I think that that would be super fun.
I love that idea. And I also love the idea of creating space for movies that we don't like, because like otherwise we're just going to pick the movies that we loved, obviously.
Yeah,
You know
because
what I mean?
we want to talk about them, we want to share them with people, so
Yeah.
we're gonna
And
totally.
also it's fun to shit on movies sometimes.
Yeah, it's fun to just go off on. Yes, I totally agree. I loved though, I and this last thing I'll say about this, I loved how much I loved Sarah, especially after As Above, So Below, how much I didn't like that main female character. I really loved
Yes.
Sarah, and I love that I loved her.
Yeah, it is almost like this movie is the spiritual precursor to As Above, So Below. And I liked As Above, So Below for different reasons,
Mhm.
but they both share a trapped, can't get out, what do we do now? Panic theme, which I appreciate, but I also, this is minor, but I'm throwing it in because I just remembered it. When they had the scene where Sarah was stuck and the other girl has to talk her down, I could not help myself but be like, I love As Above, So Below, but I was like, this scene is 1,000 times better than
Mhm.
the As Above, So Below calm down scene, because she crawls back in face first and makes her laugh. And I mean, it just feels so natural. You can tell these people are friends, and she's in there just trying to like, what did she say? She was like, what was the joke?
We
She's like,
couldn't hear what, like, I forget the joke, but I didn't hear the punchline, but I was so like about to puke with nerves because she was trapped in that hole.
and she's like legitimately panicking. Like you buy that
Oh yeah.
she is having a panic attack, and oh god, it putting them side by side. I was like, oh, the As Above, So Below scene pales in comparison to this scene where she's like, I can't, I'm stuck. She's like flipping out, and then her friend crawls in. She's like, just listen to me, just listen to my voice. Like, you need to breathe. You need to breathe.
Yeah.
And she gets her to joke, and it's some joke about like, how do you make a lemon orgasm? You
Oh yeah.
tickle its clitoris or something. Like, I was just like,
Oh, I'm so glad you told me because so much was happening. I didn't hear what she said. And I remember my
yeah.
kids were like, "What did she say?" And I'm like, "I don't know. She needs to get out of the hole." Why are you worried about that right now? She needs to get out of this tunnel.
Yeah. No, but it was good. It was like an interesting way to get her to stop panicking, because she made her laugh. And
Yeah.
it's almost like when you get the wind knocked out of you, and people are, because this happened to me when I was a kid. I got the wind knocked out of me, and I just remember this like teacher or whatever standing over me and being like, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. And I had to be like, and then I could, like, it was an interesting experience. And so I think of that sometimes when I think of people like panicking. And so when she made her laugh, you have to sort of like exhale to laugh.
Yeah.
And so she's like, ha ha ha, like, it was so realistic.
It
It
was.
was great.
Yeah, it was so
But
realistic. And it's not like she was all happy go lucky after that, but she seemed like naturally okay. You know, I'm scared, but I can move forward. And then, of course, it started to close in on her. Get
God, I
out!
forgot about that too. And
Get
she's like, move, move.
out!
Like,
Oh, and then right
yeah,
after that, when she left the book
the rope.
and no, the book
Oh,
in the
the book in the
car.
car.
You know what? Now thinking back, I know we said we are going to end. Just one more thing. Now looking back, I thought they did a really nice subtle job. I knew something was up. minus the cheating with Juno. You knew something was up the way she looked off, like she had a plan, right? And I thought, what is she like going to be, um, like some type of a witch or something that she commands these beasts. I really hope they don't go that way because that'll be lame. But you could tell she was hiding something. And then when she put the book back, and I don't know, you could just tell. But anyways, yeah, when she was like, I didn't bring the book, we were all like, oh, shit's going down, because we were waiting for them to find out that she doesn't have that book. Oh my gosh. And I thought all the reactions of the characters were so good, because they were like, how could you do this? And she's like, well, you said don't pin this on me. Like, it was all just really good. It was
Yeah,
great.
I liked that part too. And it sucks. I don't remember much of that part on my first watch, but on our rewatch, Jade was even like, "Oh man, doesn't she like she wants to like bring them to a different cave system so that they can like experience it for the first time." And I was like, "I think so. That sounds right, but I don't remember exactly." And as we're watching it again, we were like, "Oh yeah, she leaves the like booklet. Like she thinks she knows she's hot shit." Like, oh god, and that is such listen, I've had friendships like this. I think that's why I buy this so much. I feel like I've had friends in the past that are like this, that would pull this shit, and we'd be down in a cave, trapped, fighting for our lives, and then she'd be like, "Mm, by the way, I thought
Yeah.
we were gonna just explore it together so that we could name it after you." And I'd be like, "I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna put an ice pick in your knee. Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna kill you."
Yeah, they wanted to, yeah, explore that and discover that, I when they saw the paintings, I'm like, okay, well, they can make a lot of money off of discovering these cave drawings. And my kids were like, just get out of the damn cave. And then when she found the helmet, I was like, at least take the helmet with you, because if you get out, you'll have this ancient piece, like that could be worth some money. I mean, get something for
That's so
being
funny.
down there.
Jade said the same thing. He was like, "Wouldn't you take that?" And I was like, "No." I don't have extra hands. Like, are you kidding me?
I just thought, if I get out, I could have some money. But towards the end, yeah, I wouldn't be carrying anything. But at that
Yeah.
moment, I was like, oh, take it. Or like show other people. That was the other. Okay, so first it was the bloody fingerprints, and then she finds this ancient hat or armor. Why doesn't she say, look? Oh, I know why. Because she sees the creature. That takes precedent, right? She sees that thing and freaks out and starts.
I think it's like I could be misremembering, but I think it's like after shit starts to get crazy. And so it's like
Oh.
why now this is irrelevant. Like why would I even show anybody this? Because isn't it when she's in the it's like when she gets separated and she's in the cave with all the dead body parts and stuff?
Oh, I thought when she's in the cave with the dead body parts is where she finds that little gasoline canteen and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I thought the hat was when they were all kind of freaking out and she leaves the group, when they're yelling about leaving the book, and she leaves the group. And no, 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 no. Oh, she leaves the group, and I thought she found the hat at that point and then heard weird noises and then went back. I thought that's when it
Okay.
happened, but I could be remembering wrong. But if that's the case, why wouldn't you say, hey, look at this hat?
Well,
If
I
it
guess
happened at that point before.
even in that case, like why I mean, what is the point? They already saw the like didn't they already come across the old miner like thing that was stuck up in the I don't know.
Yeah,
I buy it because I'm like,
yeah, I
what
guess
information does that give?
that's true. And plus, I'm not remembering 100% when that happened. But before, we end, how horrific was the leg scene? Oh my gosh.
Terrible.
It was terrible. I was screaming. I had something over my head. I'm just like, just do it. Just reset her leg. It was horrible. And then thinking that chick, all that shit's happening, and now she has to like hop on one foot the rest of the way and they don't even know how long that is because they don't know where they are.
Yeah, Jade was like, straight up, you'd be better off served leaving that person with some water or whatever and like coming back for them, because you'd be slowed down by like 80%. You would not. He's like doing the math. He's like, how long could you survive on water alone? Like maybe 2 weeks. He's like, okay, so that person would slow you down by like 80%. You'd only be able to like get so far before you were able to get out. You'd be better off leaving that person. And I was like, God, that would be terrible though, to leave that person.
Just sitting there. Imagine just with a broken leg, bleeding, pitch black because everyone would have left. Your flashlight would have died. And you're sitting. It would never get light. Never. It would just be pitch black. Whether there's it, just even if there's not beasts down there, pitch black for like ever. And at that point, they knew there was beasts, right? No, no, no,
No,
no.
I don't think so.
No, they didn't. They didn't because the next scene is when they crawled up on the bones. But yeah, just even that, no beasts. You're just in this tunnel in the darkness for
Yeah,
what if they don't find you again when you go back down there?
you'd be, that is the worst. That's the worst fate
I can't.
I can imagine. And honestly, like, part of survival is morale, right? Like, you have to keep your morale up. And so I, in a way, I feel like I could sort of explain that away in the way that I was like, you'd want to keep morale high and you'd have to just like keep her going. No, it's okay. We'll
Mhm.
be okay. We're going to find, like, at some point you probably have to be like, okay, we got to leave you here and we're going to come back for you. But I didn't feel like that was the time as a group of survivors.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
So what's next? We have to pick one that neither of us have seen.
Um, I think that's what we did last time. I think we did, yeah, we did one that you had seen, right? We did Hereditary. And then after that, we did in, oh no, I think at that time we had no rules. At that time, we had no
Yeah,
rules. We did Hereditary, we did As Above, So Below. Then we decided, let's do one neither of us have seen. And so we did that. And then, Felicia, why don't you choose one? So, yes,
Poltergeist.
one that neither of us have seen. And then next time, I'll pick a movie. And then we'll do the magical either it'll be crappy movies or it'll be a movie we both have seen. So we paused so you didn't have to suffer through us trying to decide what movie. So we paused and chose a movie neither of us has seen. So Tawny, tell them about what we're watching next.
Yes. So, um, maybe not surprisingly, on our list, there are only a couple movies that neither of us have seen, and they pretty much uh, comprised of Antrim, movies that are not even out yet, or Stir of Echoes, which was suggested to us by my good ride or die friend, Kara, from college, with
Yay.
Kevin Bacon. And I'm so excited to watch it. And I've heard a lot of good things about this movie, honestly. I've read a lot of people who have found this movie very scary. And maybe I could be mixing it up with a different movie, but I believe it's sort of
Sorry, that sounded funny.
what?
You're like, it is so scary, but I could be mixing it up with another movie.
I could, honestly, I don't know. I could be mixing it up. Also I commandeered Jade's wine, so you know. But
Well, Tawny
I
was
think it's
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
Lovecraftian is what I was looking for. Like, there is kind of a
Oh,
subset of movies that is Lovecraftian horror. Have you seen Event Horizon?
yes.
Okay, so Event Horizon is Lovecraftian horror, where it's like um
What
shit
is
that's
that?
so scary that is like otherworldly, like outside of the dimension that we are familiar with. I could be, again, I'm not an expert on
No,
this, but that's kind of how I understand Lovecraftian horror, and I think Stir of Echoes could be in this realm unless I'm mixing it up with something else.
no. So I've never heard of this. Oh, Lovecraftian. Google time. Lovecraftian horror is a subgenre of horror fiction that emphasizes the cosmic horror of the unknown. more than gore or other elements of shock. Okay. Oh yeah, okay, I can see that.
Would you
Um,
say that's pretty? Did I do a good job? Was it pretty
you did
close?
an excellent job, and I would have to say you didn't see it. Tawny wanted to record it, but I was watching the trailer. She couldn't hear anything. All she could see was my reactions to the trailer. And at first I was like, okay. And all of a sudden there was a boom and I was like, ah, but it was like a silent film for her because she couldn't see anything. But from what I saw, that fits that description
Okay.
of Lovecraftian horror. So,
Cool. I'm excited. And Karen,
yeah.
thank you so much for the suggestion.
Yes, thank you.
We're
I'm so
excited.
excited. Guys, gals, everybody, anybody, it's just everybody, every person in the world, come find us on Facebook. Okay, I really spaced out all of those things to where it was weird. But join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you as a part of the conversation. Tawny and I are in there a lot. We have some awesome members in there. Super fun. We do have a lot of stuff planned. So you can find us on Facebook at Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. You can follow us on Instagram at Two Chicks and a Horror Flick. If you really like us and you feel so compelled, you could totally subscribe and leave us a review. That would be awesome, but you totally don't have to either. We just love it that you're showing up and engaging with us, and we just love doing this.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I really look forward to it. And I am weirdly nervous at this point with the amount of potential strangers listening to us. So I just feel compelled to say anytime I call somebody a bitch, I really mean it lovingly. Okay. Like I say, like this bitch all the time. And it's a term of endearment. Please, nobody be offended. I love them usually.
Okay, so anybody who's offended, you just need to stop because it is awesome and it's one of my favorite things. When I first met Tawny, okay, it's just small tangent, but when I first met Tawny, and we were putting a group together, she actually explained that to all of us. That she says, bitch, or hey bitch, or this bitch, or what's up bitch, or she says that, and not to
Same,
be
bitch.
offended. Yeah, and then we all, by the end of this course that we were doing together, we all started saying it. All of us started to say it. So anyways, my favorite probably moment so far of everything is when you were talking about Hereditary and you're like, this bitch. Someone needs to get her an award.
Tony Collette, get her out of here. She's done. She's done.
That was like my favorite thing, dude. But
so I just need you all to know it comes from a place of true love.
yeah,
My heart.
everything we say and do, and it's never meant to offend them. Well, we love you guys. We love doing this. It's truly the highlight of our week, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Have a good night. No nightmares.